जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Samsthapakacharya, Savior of the whole world, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadresho Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 4, The Atrocities of King Kamsa. Text number 20. Yatha anvevam vidaha bhedaha yatha nevam vido bhedo yata Atma viparyayaha Yata Atma viparyayaha Deha Yoga Viyogau Cha Deha Yoga Viyogau Cha Samsritir Na Nivartate Samsritirna nivartate Yathanevam vido bhedo Yata atma viparyayaha Deha yoga viyoga cha Samsritirna nivartate. material conditions. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. The body is subject to its own principles of birth, death, old age, and disease. But one who is situated in spiritual life, yato bhaktir adhokshaje, has no birth, no death, no old age, and no disease. One may argue that we may see a person who is spiritually engaged 24 hours a day, but is still suffering from disease. In fact, however, he is neither suffering nor diseased. Otherwise, he could not be engaged 24 hours a day in spiritual activities. The example may be given in this connection that sometimes dirty foam or garbage is seen floating on the water of the Ganges. This is called Nira Dharma, a function of the water. But one who goes to the Ganges does not mind the foam and dirty things floating in the water. With his hand, he pushes away such nasty things, bathes in the Ganges, and gains the beneficial results. Therefore, one who is situated in the spiritual status of life is unaffected by foam and garbage or any superficial dirty things. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Iha yasya harer dasye karmana manasa gira nikhilaswapi avasthasu jivan muktasa uchyate. A person acting in the service of Krishna with his body, mind, and words is a liberated person even within the material world. This is a quotation from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.187. Therefore, one is forbidden to regard the Guru as an ordinary human being. Gurushu naramatir naraki saha. The spiritual master or acharya is always situated in the spiritual status of life. Birth, death, old age, and disease do not affect him. According to the Hari Bhakti Vilas, therefore, after the disappearance of an acharya, his body is never burned to ashes, for it is a spiritual body. The spiritual body is always unaffected by material conditions. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupada Krishna Preshta Tale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim Yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Yat kripa tamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam Yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. These are words surprisingly spoken by Kamsa. Kamsa is a demon. He has heinously killed Devaki's 6 innocent, just born infants. As soon as they were born, they were killed by Kamsa out of fear of his own life. Some prophecy in the sky said, "You fool Kamsa, the 8th child of your sister Devaki will be the cause of your death. Immediately Kamsa wanted to kill Devaki. This is called Asuri Swabhava, demoniac nature. You should always remember there is a difference between this demoniac nature as opposed to divine nature. Daivi Swabhava, Asuri Swabhava. This Daivi Swabhava and Asuri Swabhava something needs to be done. Is not exactly the same as the influence of the three gunas. The influence of the three gunas is seen as a influence of sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. In different proportions, different people are affected by these gunas. But the effect of the gunas is due to our association with material nature. The swabhava, the nature, demoniac or divine, is not due to exactly the influence of material nature. It is our own mentality we develop in this material world due to our desire to enjoy materially, due to our own desire to be independent of Krishna, due to our own desire to lord over everything, everyone, our own enviousness of Krishna, like this. So, even though a person may be predominantly in tamasic nature, or sattvic nature, or rajasic nature, whatever, but still the person is a divine natured person, then his behavior, in spite of being in tamoguna, rajoguna, sattva-guna, will have divine characteristics. Will have divine characteristics. So, we have experience when devotees approach randomly any person to give him some prasadam or tell them to chant Hare Krishna. And this typically happens in New York, that they may approach some well-dressed, so-called gentleman, educated, young, energetic, appearing very neat and clean externally. But his heart is filled with demoniac qualities. So our devotees try to give a book or try to give a mantra card or something like that. Immediately, as soon as the devotee even goes near him, get out! He hates seeing devotees. He doesn't want to hear the name of God. Now, this has nothing to do with the influence on the person of sattva-guna, rajoguna, tamoguna, nothing. It is his own hatred because of his excessive, lusty desire for enjoying in this world. Sometimes devotees approach some person who is homeless on the street. He's just lying. The devotee goes and gives him some prasadam or tells him chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Even though he doesn't have energy, he's simply lying in the gutter. Tell him chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Give him some prasadam. Very great, nice smile. He will take it and eat it. What is this called? Divine nature. Instead of being in the lowest of tamoguna. Lowest of tamoguna. So please understand, divine nature is different. Divine demoniac nature is different. Influence of the gunas because of which a person is acting externally as tamasic or rajasic or sattvic, they are different. Sometimes while traveling in the train, I have seen this many times, that in long distance train, when we travel, we get to see people's behavior to a closer degree. So I'll have my fellow passengers sitting in a compartment, typically a second class compartment, a sleeper class. So daytime we will all be sitting, 6 of us. And nighttime we all go to sleep. So when we have to do little interaction, some people will appear to be very, very well behaved, well mannered, speak very gently and very courteous. As soon as I start talking about Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, immediately the person's disposition changes. Swamiji, don't bring in God. Don't bring in the topic of God. Okay. So immediately I understand demoniac nature. He's a so-called gentleman in the society by his material calculations, by material calculations. But as far as spiritual topics are concerned, he just doesn't want to do anything with it. And some other person, crude, not well-mannered in his behavior, he doesn't seem to be polished. And sometimes while talking, he will not be very respectful. But you just tell him, please take this prasadam. So nicely he will accept it. So if I ask him, do you sometimes go to temple? Oh, yes, yes, yes. I go to temple. Whenever I can, I go to temple. I like very much going to temple. So this difference in their attitude towards God, Krishna, specifically spiritual subject matter, spiritual life, is dependent on whether their nature is demoniac or divine. Whereas their external behavior in ordinary dealings, that will be different according to the influence of the gunas. A sattvic person will appear to be calm. A rajasic person will appear to be very, very agitated. Tamasic person will be like lazy, dull looking. But that has nothing to do with demoniac or divine nature. Why am I telling all this is, Kamsa is speaking philosophy. And he's perfectly speaking philosophy. We are not the body, we are spirit, soul. He's trying to pacify. Okay, the background is, for those who have not heard the previous classes, that Kamsa has killed the first 6 children of Devaki as soon as they were born. The 7th child apparently was a miscarriage. The child died in the womb itself after 7 months. So Kamsa could not do anything. Devaki could not do anything either. The truth is, the 7th child was Anantasesha, who had taken shelter of the womb of Devaki as a 7th child. But he was transferred under Krishna's direction to Yogamaya from Devaki's womb to Rohini's womb. So Devaki and Rohini are 2 queens of Vasudeva. So therefore, when he was transferred, people thought, common people, including Kamsa and even Devaki and Vasudeva also thought, oh, this child is died in the womb itself, miscarriage. Okay. The 8th child, Krishna, has entered the womb of Devaki. Devaki has become pregnant for the 8th time, and Kamsa is just waiting, because the 8th child, there is danger for his life. So Devaki became pregnant. Kamsa could make out. Then a thought crossed his mind. Why not kill Devaki now, even before the child comes out of the womb? Then Kamsa began to think. You see, that it will be the most heinous thing to kill my own sister when she's pregnant and she's carrying the child. So considering that it will be the very, very, very bad for his reputation, he refrained from killing her. He said, let me wait for the child to come out of the womb. Like he had done the previous children, he had killed them, 6 children of Devaki. But similarly, when the child is just born, immediately I'll finish off the child. Then my life. There's no danger for my life. So waiting, he decided to wait for the child to actually take birth, come out of the womb. And obviously, when the time approached for Krishna's appearance as the 8th son of Devaki, that time all the guards are very alert. Kamsa is very alert. But still, exactly at the time of Krishna's appearance, by the influence of Yogamaya, all the guards, and Kamsa also, completely was put to sleep. But Vasudeva and Devaki, under the influence of Yogamaya, they were fully awake. And Krishna appeared, and immediately Krishna illuminated the place and appeared in his Narayana form. And then Devaki and Vasudeva were very, very happy. So they offered nice prayers. And Krishna instructed them that because you're very anxious to protect me, so you please transfer me to the house of Nanda Maharaj, under the care of Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj is brother of Vasudeva. So Nanda Maharaj was staying in Nanda Gokula in Vrindavan, and Vasudeva was imprisoned in Mathura, across the river Yamuna. One side of the river Yamuna is this palace of Kamsa, other side is Nanda Maharaj's house in Gokula, other side of the Yamuna river. So Vasudeva had to carry the child across the Yamuna river, and exchanged the child, the daughter born of Nanda and Yashoda at the same time. Exactly middle of the night, when Krishna appeared as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, same time Yogamaya appeared by Krishna's arrangement, Krishna's instruction, Krishna's order. Yogamaya appeared as the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda. Vasudeva was supposed to exchange the child, baby Krishna, for the daughter of Nanda and Yashoda, Yogamaya. So he followed Krishna's instruction because he was very anxious to save Krishna. His 6 children have been killed already by Kamsa. So Vasudeva exactly did that. So by the influence of Yogamaya, even though Vasudeva was shackled by chains, all the doors opened, the shackles were all released. He was released from the shackles, all by the influence of Yogamaya, arrangement of Yogamaya. So simply Kamsa had to, Vasudeva had to just take the child across the river. And everything was arranged by Krishna through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Even though it was raining, Anantasesha appeared as a snake, and actually with his hoods he covered the child. And the river Yamuna was actually overflowing because there was rain at that time. So river parted, gave way for Vasudeva to cross the river. So with all these favorable conditions, Vasudeva very easily and very joyfully, very quickly, he exchanged the child and brought that baby girl. And even in Nanda Maharaj's house, middle of the night, everybody was put to sleep. In fact, the whole of Nanda Gokula, everybody was fast asleep by the influence of the same Yogamaya. So Vasudeva had no difficulty in silently doing this exchange. Nobody knew. Only Vasudeva and Devaki knew. Nobody else knew what's going on. So Vasudeva exchanged the child, brought the baby daughter of Yashoda back to the prison, put her in the lap of Devaki, and again he put on the shackles, closed the door got locked, the shackles got chained nicely, and then the baby started crying. And by that time, the influence of Yogamaya is over, because Vasudeva has done his job. Immediately, the guards woke up as if from sleep. The child is born! They're all waiting. But they didn't shout. Immediately, they're grabbing the child. No, they didn't grab the child. They left it for Kamsa. They went to Kamsa. A child is born! A child is born! Immediately, Kamsa rushed, full of anxiety. He's having so much fear because the child is responsible for death. Suddenly, he's seeing Devaki has given birth to a baby girl. He couldn't make out anything. What's happened? Because first 6 children were boys. Obviously, he expected another boy, son to be born, who will be responsible for his death. Seeing a baby girl, he doesn't know what to do. Immediately, never take a chance, even though it's a baby girl. Immediately, he grabbed the child. Devaki tried to appeal to Kamsa. After all, she is a girl. Please spare her life. You have no danger from a girl. Please let her live. Devaki cried, appealed to his good sense. But Kamsa was so cruel-hearted, demoniac nature, nothing doing. So the baby he grabbed and he tried to kill the baby like he had done the earlier children. by smashing it against, with the legs he grabbed. A small child, so much. If you've seen how a small child, all mothers know, the child is born, it's so small. Barely you can even hold the child, but he's grabbing by the legs and smashing against the stone. So as soon as he took the baby and tried to smash the, he slipped out of the hand and appeared in 8-armed form as Durga. Kamsa is already bewildered that the child is born. He got even more bewildered. What's happening? And then Durga Devi began to speak and said, "You fool, the child which is supposed to be the cause of your death has already taken birth somewhere. Don't be so cruel to your sister." So Kamsa was astonished. Then he realized that Devaki and Vasudeva are not ordinary people. Because how could Durga Devi take birth in the womb of Devaki as the daughter of Vasudeva? Not possible. Because generally the Asuras are worshippers of Devatas. Though they are very much against Vishnu, they are inimical to Vishnu always. Demon means against Vishnu and Vaishnavas and saintly persons. So they generally are worshippers of Durga, the worshippers of Shiva, are worshippers of some demigods, particularly Durga and Shiva. So they have respect for Durga. So Kamsa, Durga has appeared as the daughter of Devaki. So Devaki is no ordinary woman. So out of great respect for Devaki and Vasudeva, after Durga disappeared, said this and disappeared, then he immediately came and released Vasudeva and Devaki from the shackles, prison house, and he begged forgiveness. I unnecessarily killed your first 6 children and attempted to kill your 8th child also. Actually, the child which is supposed to be cause of my death is born somewhere else. Maybe somebody else's child. Somewhere else the child is born. So why did I behave like this towards my sister and brother-in-law? He began to repent. And he begged forgiveness. And he's also trying to pacify them because they are so much unhappy over the turn of events. So he's trying to pacify them out of some affection for his sister and brother-in-law. And while pacifying, generally in the Vedic culture, when somebody is to be pacified, even though the person who's trying to pacify may speak some kind words, but kind words and gentle behavior will not really pacify if it's a big loss. So then they speak some philosophy. And it is well known in the Vedic culture that philosophically, especially speaking from the scriptures, that will pacify the person. Guaranteed to pacify. Therefore, Kamsa is speaking that we should understand the person is not the body. So even if somebody dies, the person doesn't die. It's only the body that is finished. And anyway, the body cannot be saved for long, forever. The body is going to perish. So one should not lament about death, either of relatives or near and dear ones or anybody. So he's speaking now and telling one who does not understand the constitutional position of the body and the soul becomes too attached to the bodily concept of life. And what he's telling is a fact. This is what is described in the scriptures, all the scriptures. What does this mean? He knows the philosophy, but still The demoniac nature has nothing to do with knowledge either, including spiritual knowledge. There is no ordinary knowledge what Kamsa is speaking. It is actually the fundamental teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. One in the bodily concept of life does not understand the constitutional position of the body and the soul. He's speaking perfect philosophy, perfect Krishna conscious philosophy, understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. So, even if a person has knowledge, still the demoniac nature is independent of that. So therefore, many places in scriptures it is said, merely having theoretical knowledge of the scriptures, jnana as theoretical knowledge, is not sufficient for Krishna consciousness. You require vijnana. Vijnana means realization. Such realization is not possible simply by theoretical knowledge or theoretical understanding. It requires that one has to actually realize. Realize means to actually perceive the reality. Perceiving the reality. Actually internalizing the understanding, and one's existence itself becomes changed according to the understanding. So, it is a realization is a transformation of our, or the purification of our consciousness. That is realization. Understanding can be at the level of the mind, the material mind, the material intelligence, or the material ego. It's like somebody may study volumes of books about some subject and can even explain based on what they have understood or what they have studied or theoretically. But it comes to practical application of that knowledge or that understanding, they may not be able to practically apply that. Just like simple example, if I am given a book on cooking recipes, and our ISKCON devotees, when they write a cookbook recipes, they also give so many details. They give the ingredients, the proportions in which you can make for about, let's say, 4 people. Then they give the procedure, and they give some tips also. Very nicely they do it. Exceptionally nicely written. Very nicely written. So I may study this book. Okay. I may even hear from a person about, how to prepare some recipe. But just because I've heard, I've studied, I know, I can refer the book, I've even understood, first you have to do this, then you have to do this, then this, so many things. Does it mean I can really prepare it very nicely simply by this understanding? No way. It's never possible. Sometimes when a devotee newly goes to the kitchen and starts cooking in our temples, say rice is very, very easy to make. So he thinks, what is there in rice? Take some rice, some quantity, wash it nicely in a vessel or something. Just and put the correct amount of water after washing, keep it on the stove, and just, 5 minutes high flame and some 10 minutes sim, and then it's all done perfectly. And the fellow does that, and it rises completely either burnt or it is not cooked. Something happens. And what went wrong? I did what I was told to do. So there is something more than merely just doing what you have to do. And if it is not just rice, cooking rice, but even because so many times we see even rice, they don't cook properly. So what went wrong? It's such a simple thing. There is so many things that can go wrong. Those who are experienced, they know that. So many precautions had to be taken, and one has to be trained, practically trained. Or another example is, I know English, and there are medical textbooks available in English language. I can study them. I can hear so many discourses or lectures by experienced professors. Now everything is available on the net, internet. So I can hear discourses. Does it mean I can do surgery after hearing a discourse about anatomy and how to do surgery and what are the different parts of the body? You can do surgery? Impossible. So similarly, in spiritual life, hearing discourses, studying books, and understanding theoretically is not enough at all. It's not enough. On the other hand, somebody who doesn't even know to read or write, but actually practices chanting Hare Krishna and does practical devotional service under the guidance of a spiritual master, can become fully enlightened about all that is there in all the scriptures and can live life like a perfect spiritualist, even without having learned the language, either Sanskrit or English or whatever, doesn't know how to read and write. One of our acharyas, Prabhupada's guru's guru, Gaur Kishoras Babaji Maharaj, Prabhupada says, he did not know how to read and write. He never learnt it. He was born in a simple family. And then he was a grain merchant. Merchant means a small trader, very small trader from his family tradition. But very early in his life, he left home. As soon as he was married, he lost his wife soon after marriage. And he left home and went away to Vrindavan. And he started practicing spiritual life. Of course, it is understood that from his previous life, he is continuing his spiritual practice. Therefore, he's not interested in material things, even from childhood. But anyway, he never went to formal schooling and he never knew how to write. But he was just chanting Hare Krishna, associating with other saintly persons and hearing from them Krishna Katha. And then very soon, the other devotees started realizing he is a very, very advanced devotee. And then he went from Vrindavan to Navadvip. And in Navadvip, he was staying and he was recognized by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's father, as a great Vaishnava, pure devotee, Acharya. Because he used to come and hear Bhaktivinoda Thakur's discourses on Bhagavatam. And then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was just being trained by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And then Bhakti Vinod Thakur directed his son when he said, I want to take Diksha. Then he directed him, go and take Diksha from Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj. So then Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj, he was sitting and doing his chanting, and he would hear discourses, completely renounced. From his appearance, one could make out he's completely renounced. But if somebody comes and inquires from him anything about spiritual subject matter, perfect answers he will give. And then he used to say, you don't have to spend much money to learn spiritual life and become perfect. You require just to have 50 paisa those days, 150 years back. You just have to buy 2 books and study them. One is, both the books are written by one Narottam Das Thakur, a previous acharya, previous to all these acharyas. So Narottam Das Thakur has compiled 2 books of songs. One is Prarthana, other one is Prema Bhakti Chandrika. These 2 books are available for 25 paisa each those days. So just buy these 2 books and study them. Enough. Your spiritual education is complete and your spiritual life becomes perfect. And all these songs, where did he get time to study? He didn't even know to read and write. So where is question of his getting the book and reading or studying? All these songs he knew. And not only the songs, he could explain the purport of those songs perfectly. This is the result of not studying theoretically, but actually practicing bhakti. Therefore, the Shastra says, simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and perfect this chanting by following the other principles also, which are given along with chanting, like taking prasadam, bowing down before the Lord, associating with devotees, etc. But then, Prabhupada has also written these books, explained elaborately, because we are trained so much in material education, material knowledge. So we are learned, or we know how to read, how to write, how to understand. So for such people, the books are there explaining the philosophy. Everything is nicely explained, logically, scientifically, systematically, it's there. But merely studying this, understanding the subject is not enough without actual practice, actual training in chanting, in worshipping, in bowing down, in behaving, learning Vaishnava behavior. So all these other things are actually also required. And ultimately, what will happen? By following all the rules, regulations, even if somebody has studied these books, the actual application of whatever is there in the books, that is going to happen only by practicing, following all the principles. And that is called realization. Like, I not only know that I am not this body, but I am spirit soul, but my understanding, my life, my behavior, my actions, my desires, my goal, everything will be aligned with whatever is given you. So Shastra say the goal of life is self-realization, not sense gratification. So somebody who has realized this fact will actually have his goal of life self-realization. Such a person will never indulge in any sense gratification. So such a person, if you see, his actions, his desires, his ambitions, his behavior, his association, his words, his actions, his life, everything is exactly according to this understanding. The goal of life is self-realization. Perfection of life is self-realization. So the person is living a life like that, 24 hours a day. Therefore, Prabhupada says in the purport here, I'll close with this point, that when one is practicing devotional service and becomes completely situated in this devotional life, when a person is engaged in pure devotional service, then one is always happy in transcendental bliss, in spite of living in this world in a material body. Still, because one is completely liberated, one will not be subject to birth, death, disease, and old age. So this is the symptom of a person who is fully realized, who is completely Krishna conscious. Now, somebody may argue that we may see a person spiritually engaged 24 hours a day is still suffering from disease. So how to understand this? He's free from disease, that's what the Shastras say. But still, sometimes he becomes diseased also like other people who are not engaged. So then Prabhupada says, such a person who's 24 hours engaged in devotional service is not actually suffering from any disease, nor is he affected by the diseased condition of the body. He doesn't suffer. That is what is told. He may have, the body may be infected, body may be diseased, body will show signs of symptoms of the disease, but he is unaffected by it. And the proof is, he is engaged in spiritual activities. And such engagement is 24 hours a day, all the time. So, Prabhupada says the example also of the river Ganga. So, Ganga river, it starts from somewhere on the top of the Himalayas, Gangotri, and then it flows down the hills, the mountains, and then reaches the Bay of Bengal, the ocean. So, it flows through so many different types of places. So, sometimes the river, so much dirty things will be floating in the water. It picks up some as it flows in the course of flowing. So then people who understand the spiritual value of this water of the Ganga River itself is washing the lotus feet of Vishnu and coming down to this earth. So that Ganga river is spiritually potent. And anybody who takes bath in the Ganga becomes completely purified externally and internally. So such a spiritualist will not hesitate to take bath in the Ganga, even if some dirty things are floating in the river water. What will he do? Just push aside whatever is floating and just because they're all superficial dirty things that are floating, and the water itself is actually never losing any spiritual potency because of those dirty things floating there. So spiritually it is always completely potent. So they will bathe in the Ganga river and take the full spiritual benefit in spite of the river water appearing to be not so clean but dirty. Similarly, the devotee understands that even if my body is not healthy, still, if I practice spiritual life, which is actually happening on the spiritual platform, spiritual practice is not on the material platform. Material platform, whatever we do, it requires that our body be in a proper condition, or we need so many material facilities to do some particular activity. So those facilities are not there, we cannot do that particular work. But spiritual life, spiritual actions, spiritual activity is not material activity, meaning it doesn't require material facilities, material bodily condition to be proper. So it's an action of the spirit soul, the real you within the body. And you use your spiritual senses, your spiritual mind, your spiritual intelligence to actually perform spiritual activity. It is completely different than what material activity is. Like, for example, chanting Hare Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna, you can do in any condition. Of course, in the beginning, we may have difficulty when we are sick to chant Hare Krishna. But I have tried this and I have told others also. Supposing I'm very, very sick and I'm not able to even sit up, so I'm lying on the bed. So anyway, as long as I can vibrate my tongue, I should simply vibrate my tongue. That was what I was told. So even though I'm lying on the bed, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, I'm just vibrating my tongue and saying Hare Krishna. So I may be feeling pain, I may be feeling a little drowsy, or I may be feeling very, very sick. But still, if I chant, if I can chant, if I chant, I'll be getting the spiritual benefit regardless of the condition of the body and the mind. Please understand this point. Supposing somebody is not even able to vibrate the tongue and say Hare Krishna, what can the person do? Very sick, lying on the bed. Just think of chanting Hare Krishna. Remember the times when you were healthy and you were chanting. Just go back to those memories and simply reminisce. Keep on remembering that. Can't you do that? Yes, you can do it. Just like I'm traveling, and normally when I'm traveling, let's say I should travel overnight by train. So my train is early morning, that I'm still in the train. I've not reached the temple. I'm going to reach sometime at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'm in the train. I get up as usual at 3:30. I can't take a bath. Okay, I'll just wash my face, brush my teeth, sit down wherever in the train itself, and then start chanting Hare Krishna. So that time, the atmosphere is very gloomy, dull. Sometimes somebody will be snoring also, all fast asleep, other fellow passengers, except when there are devotees. So they're all sleeping. How can I chant in this atmosphere? So then I close my eyes, or I don't even have to close my eyes, it's dark anyway. So I simply have to transport myself to the temple hall where I regularly chant. I don't think I'm in the train. I think I'm in the temple hall. And I simply keep chanting, just thinking of the temple hall. I'm in the temple hall. I'm chanting now. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Then I forget about that fact that I'm in the train. Possible. It's possible. Similarly, when you're lying down, instead of thinking, Oh, I'm so diseased, I'm so sick, when will I get better? So much pain. So thinking of that, think of the time when you were healthy. And most of the time you're healthy. Sometimes you fall sick. Think of the time you're healthy. See, the mind is different from the body. The soul is different from the mind also. So use your mind to shift your thinking or your remembering or your experiencing or your perceiving your body, your pain, your sickness, hospital, disease to Krishna, chanting of Krishna's name, your practice, your healthy condition in which you have already practiced. Think of all that. And now let me just forget about this illness. It's a temporary thing. Agama paina anityaha. Bhagavad Gita says these things come and go. They're all temporary. Sometime it will go, this sickness. Now it is there. Let me forget about this. And just think of chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Even though not able to chant, I can even at least think of chanting. I can mentally chant. I can simply, without moving the tongue, chant. It's possible. Just have to practice. Everything requires practice. So practice this. Under all circumstances, don't give up chanting. Practice, practice, practice. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanyagami. So if you practice this, very easily you will be able to perfect your chanting just by constant practice. It happens. Anything is possible by practice. Everything is possible to practice. So practice this and then you'll become perfect. So stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.